Hey, good morning, William. We've seen WisdomTree in the news quite a lot recently between USDW, and then your tokenized money market fund as well. So I guess diving into this, I was looking at your LinkedIn before the show. I've seen you were at WisdomTree, I think, going on 11 years now. How has the evolution been from 11 years now to being the head of digital assets and bringing some of these products to market? What
Yeah,
was that journey
absolutely.
like?
Yeah, for sure. So, WisdomTree is an asset manager ETF sponsor. And, so I've been at the firm for 11 years now. We launched our first ETFs 20 years ago. So, a little more than kind of half the company's current history I've been here. And, WisdomTree was really founded kind of with the idea of like there's a better structure that's ETFs and there's a better way to kind of do indexing. And that's the indexes that WisdomTree created. But, on that first point, ETFs have taken in the vast majority of inflows over the past 2 decades compared to mutual funds. They're really like eating the world in asset management. And we view digital assets tokenization as kind of an extension of that core capability that we've got. Kind of understanding like wrappers, product structuring, and bringing that same sort of expertise on chain. So, I think the great example of this is just last week, we got a very kind of critical exemptive relief from the SEC
Mm.
that allows our largest product on the digital asset side, a tokenized money market fund, WTGXX, to trade and settle on a 24/7 T instant basis. So this is really a big unlock for the space broadly. It's the first time within certainly the US regulatory perimeter, and I think you can say broadly that a tokenized money market fund can trade this way. Allows it to kind of integrate much more seamlessly with stablecoin workflows that are out there, where you can have a yield bearing instrument like WTGXX sit alongside and transact directly with stablecoins and do it not just on a once a day batch settlement basis, but on a true 24/7 T instant basis. Really opens up a lot of use cases and workflows that can happen with stablecoins around treasury management, collateral use cases. So that's a big unlock for us, and it kind of leverages kind of our core ETF kind of competencies and knowledge that we've got. So it's something that we're very excited about.
When would you say these conversations started happening? Because I think a lot of times in this space, it feels like it happens overnight. But when did this conversation start happening? Maybe a little bit even for you personally, but maybe even internally at WisdomTree with these products.
So I have been running this digital assets group since probably about fall, maybe really actually spring 2021. It's been something that kind of we've been investigating even before COVID as some stuff was starting in the space. And then we really gained conviction. Me and a couple other colleagues kind of left our day jobs, we like to say, and started focusing on this full time at
Yeah.
WisdomTree, created a dedicated team, dedicated business unit working on this stuff. For me, it wasn't like I had any sort of, I was just open minded on new technology, right? I wasn't kind of somebody who was like hardcore into crypto in my own personal time. It was just a matter of, hey, this seems like there's something here. I accept kind of the potential for technology to disrupt the current way of doing things, certainly in capital markets,
Mm.
asset management, and just being open minded on that led us to kind of really see the future here and invest in building out these capabilities.
And so when you talk about building out those capabilities and building out this stablecoin ecosystem, I was just talking about cap protocol a bit.
Yep.
What's the foundation for that? How should WisdomTree, users, people that are custodying and holding WTGXX right now, how are they looking at it? How should they evaluate, interacting with protocols like CAP? Because it can be a little daunting going into the world of DeFi, but I think DeFi Dave over there has done a great job at really trying to, I'd say, professionalize DeFi in a way and show the traditional financial institutions that these are valid products. These are things that you should be taking a look at. So how'd that relationship come about?
Yeah, we've got a great relationship with CAP, and I think, kind of talking about this more broad, like what is like kind of traditional regulated kind of tokenized assets like WTGXX or other things that we have, kind of how should they integrate and work with DeFi, right? And I think how I see DeFi, how I think about it is in one case, it's like certainly serving like a lot of on-chain investing use cases today, right? Generally, like people have, it could be something like they're looking to get leverage. People have talked a lot about these looping strategies in real world assets. And like that's great. What I think is really interesting is like how do these like taking this kind of like software driven kind of financial services, right? Where you've got essentially kind of self-executing code that's able to execute financial services contracts that have otherwise kind of been relying on people or other things like that. How can you take that kind of software and apply it to other parts of financial services, including within like more wholly regulated constructs, right? So I think things like what CAP is doing, kind of what other DeFi protocols are doing are kind of great examples of that. And just showing the potential for, hey, you've got a fund, right? You've decided you've onboarded WisdomTree, you're now holding a tokenized money market fund, using it as part of your workflows. What are some of the other potential ways that this can kind of help you get more utility out of your value? Could be things like instant trading. It could be things like using it as collateral for loans. I've heard lots of interesting examples, both on the investing side and also even things on like the payment side, merchant acquirer side, around how these types of protocols can kind of add value there. So we're in the very early innings of that. And we're very interested in kind of exploring even beyond just like the current universe of people who are using DeFi for leverage or things like that.
So where are you exploring? Like, what kind of piques your ears? Because obviously, I'm not giving away too much, but what piques your interest? Going into the rest of this year, or maybe if you were to be at a conference, what would be something that you're like, this is a rabbit hole I want to go down a little bit more.
Yeah, in our 2026 outlook, so WisdomTree's had a lot of growth in the digital asset, tokenized asset space in just the past, 12 months. I'd say at the beginning of 2025, we were at about $30 million in assets. Today, we're at close to $800 million in assets. So really strong
Congratulations.
growth in like the past 12 months. Thank you. And, a lot of that's just been driven by client use cases, whether it's stablecoin issuance or tokenized asset issuance, could be treasury management using stablecoins, collateral use cases within financial services, and just really on-chain investing. So people who are looking to remain on-chain and access to other, whether it's yield-bearing or diversifying assets. So it's all those things that's allowed us to kind of grow over the past years to like the 800-ish million where we are today. Really what I think like the next leg of growth is going to be, I really highlight two things in my 2026 outlook. It's liquidity of fund shares, right? So exactly what we did with WTGXX, making these things more tradable and kind of work better within crypto native or stablecoin native workflows. That's like a lot of people in tokenization have talked about this in concept, but it's always been in concept. And I think for the first time, and why we're so excited about it, with WTGXX, we're able to actually go out there and demonstrate this real utility, real true 24/7 T instant settlement. The second piece is really around, these are all permissioned assets. So there needs to be kind of a growth of people that are eligible to participate in permissioned assets. This could be things like, forms of like digital identity, not like a state-led version, but like the ability for people to kind of selectively share information with different financial service providers. Could be attestations, but just making onboarding easier for everyone in the space. I think as we're looking to bring kind of DeFi concepts, that we're seeing to kind of regulated, kind of within the regulatory perimeter, assets that require people to be like identified, that's something that's going to need to happen as well. So it's really, making these exposures more liquid and tradable, that onboarding concept. Those are the types of things that we're really focused on in 2026.
And so I'm curious about how you would approach a conversation to, a legacy WisdomTree user or client. And, if we talked about this recently in an interview with Thomas Cowan, he's head of tokenization at Galaxy, and really the difference in the market and the need for stablecoins like USDW, and then also the need for tokenized money market funds like WTGXX. So do you guys have a shortened like acronym for that? Like
No, we just use WTGXX. Yeah.
yeah. How do you approach, because I can imagine some people, they say like, why isn't a stablecoin enough? Where do these two fit into the ecosystem? And how would you
Yeah.
explain the difference to maybe somebody entering the conversation?
Yeah, so USDW is really just used as kind of like the cash rails, the transaction rails within WisdomTree's own ecosystem. It's not kind of available broadly yet or anything like that. WTGXX, on the other hand, is kind of, we're seeing lots of people come in with different stable coins. We support USDC and PYUSD transactions. So really, the reason that you'd want to hold a tokenized money market fund compared to a stable coin, the primary reason people want to do that is yield, right? Is that especially in light of kind of the current conversations with Clarity Act, rewards programs may not be allowed. Rewards programs also don't like scale particularly well, is what I'd say. and there isn't the ability for you to, if you're holding in self-custody or kind of depending on where you're holding it, you might not be able to, as an end user, get kind of yield on your stablecoin balances. Tokenized money market funds have kind of a clear regulatory construct. The way they pay yield, you're getting the whole yield, just less a management fee. That's kind of charged for operating the product. So you kind of know that you're getting close to like what the prevailing yield rates are. So there's a lot of compelling reasons. There's also a very good model for custody and independent oversight of money market funds issued under the 40 Act. So there's a lot of compelling reasons why people might want to use a tokenized money market fund. But really, kind of just going back to your broader question, Zach, it's like, why are people using these things anyway? It's not about replacing kind of like current traditional assets that kind of sit there as well. Like, our pitch is not a substitution for like a money market fund that you're buying in your Fidelity account. It's really saying like, hey, you're using stablecoin, you're in crypto, you've got a wallet. These are the other things that you can do with that fit within what you're trying to achieve. Or these are like why tokenized assets like our money market fund can kind of work better for you in terms of what you're looking to get out of your stablecoin and kind of on-chain financial services. So that's the customer journey that we see. We don't see it as like a substitution for kind of existing assets that are sitting on the traditional side. We view it as kind of creating a new user experience, serving new use cases that otherwise just aren't possible within traditional financial services.
Man, that's awesome. I guess anything you want to leave a stablecoin focused listener with as we head on to 2026 and we prepare to bring on Anjali from Paxos Labs.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have kind of highlighted USDW in the headline, but really WTGXX is this is a big unlock for this. So if you're an issuer, somebody's doing business with stablecoins, you should talk to us. You can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, lots of places, X. But WisdomTree.com's got all the information as well. So people should come talk to us. We think it works really well for people in their workflows.
Awesome. Well, William, thanks for coming on the show. I hope to have you on in the future as WisdomTree continues to pave the way here. Please keep us in mind as any news comes on, because that's what we want this platform to be. When news breaks, come on, break it down, and we want to keep that cycle going. So it's great to meet you, and thanks for coming on the stream.